Okay, let's move on to Amari Bailey. Probably, I think the guy's maybe leading the swarm in games played this year. He's been pretty much an ever-present. Averaging 18 and a half points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.5 steals, half a block, 45% from the field, 34% from 3. That's been a big uptick as of recently. We'll talk about that. But I guess, tell me, Cliff always has this term, you never know a player until you coach them, right? That's something that Steve Clifford says all the time. What have you learned about Amari Bailey, coaching him from this year, as opposed to maybe just watching him on film at the start of the year?
I think the biggest thing with Amari, and if we're going to stick strictly to basketball, I think the biggest piece with him is just his willingness to be in the gym and get all this extra work in. Like, he's been with us for a significant period of time, like you mentioned, and I've always been a big advocate that the most development and the most growth you'll get from individuals is when you just allow them to be in the G League for an extensive period of time. That's why they're playing consistent games. They're playing consistent minutes. They're watching film consistently. They're getting additional work. They're getting additional reps. Those things are really important. I think Amari is a testament to that. He's improved in every statistical category from early on in the year. Like, if you were to go back and separate the Showcase Cup from the regular season, his growth has been unbelievable. And I think the biggest thing that I've noticed from him is his just natural ability to get to the paint in the half court. So he was like in the 96th percentile in college in the open floor. So when he gets the ball in transition, he's elite at getting to the rim, making plays for others. But even in the half court, like, he just has this natural, like, innate ability to, like, just get by guys and get to the paint and create advantages on his own, which a lot of guys, whether it's a DHO or a pick and roll, like, guys have to bring someone else into the mix in order to create advantages. He can do it naturally on his own. We try to, draw stuff up for him a lot of times where it just gives him the ball in space. And it's like you close your eyes and the next thing you know, he just gets to the rim. I think that's something that I've noticed very early on. His mentality has been fantastic. Sometimes when you're on a two-way, you want to be with the parent club and you want to be in the NBA facility every day doing things like that. And he has from day one been 100% plus committed to being in the G League. And I think he understands how important it is for him to get these reps and the development that it's going to bring him in the long run. So just his overall commitment and buy-in to being here has been awesome. He fits in great with our guys in the locker room. They love being around him. Just seeing his growth has been really exciting on both sides of the ball. And like I said, he's improved in every statistical category. You mentioned the shooting. He's shooting like 46%, I think, from 3 on 5 attempts a game over like the last 5 to 7 games. And I think just in the regular season period alone, he's got to be close to 40%. So that was a massive, massive piece of his development. Coming here is just his ability to shoot the ball more consistently. And he's been doing that. And I think that's a testament to him and his work ethic, and also just our staff working with him and just kind of
I was going to ask on it. Do you feel that uptick in percentage is, variance that he started off the season slow and it's just evening out? Or do you feel there has been a progression in his mechanics, his comfort with the NBA three-point line? It might be a combination of both, but where do you feel kind of he falls on that spectrum?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. He didn't shoot it at a super great clip in college. So I do think a lot of it is the development piece. And we talk about it all the time, like the mechanics for sure, the comfortability with the NBA line. Absolutely. Like those things and the consistency of him being able to rep the same mechanics over and over again have been incredibly important, I think. However, what I think has stemmed the most as well is he's taking the right ones now. Right. Early on in the year, he was taking the off the bounce ones, off the dribble, slightly contested, and now he's taking better ones, I think. So to me, it's being a shooter is just as much about confidence and rhythm as it is his mechanics. And I think that what he's doing is, you'll see, his first couple shots in the game from 3 are always going to be what feel like clean looks to us, right? Like not contested, he's in rhythm, his feet are set, his hands are ready. Right, the things that we preach to him all the time. And now you're seeing those go in, and now you start the game 2 for 2, And now your confidence just grows as a shooter. And if you go back to even watching our last game in Grand Rapids, he hit a super difficult off the bounce step back late in the game, which he's more than capable of making. But we think that the fact that, he took 3 really good ones before that and he felt good and with the rhythm, I think that really helped him too. So it is mechanics. I think it is just the consistent work that he's put in and the testament to him and his efforts. But it's also us helping him understand what a good shot looks like, and when those come and how we get them and how we manufacture them, and his buy-in and understanding to what we're teaching him in that world too.
Yeah. And I know obviously you talked about, his downhill transition scoring and getting into the paint. And, if he's able to shoot the ball, then that becomes even, more deadly, right, to the opponents, because they're closing out harder at you. They're not just standing off. And I'm glad you said it, because in my notes, in my scouting report from Amari Bailey, I have written down strong-bodied, deceivingly athletic downhill driver who excels in transition and is a creative and smooth finisher around the rim. Because he's not like your classic, what you maybe call a great athlete, if you were to measure it. But when you watch him play, it's just so functional, right? His ability to finish with both hands, hang in the air, like the combination of strength and size. It's really like watching him finish around the rim. He makes some pretty incredible finishes when he gets down there for a guard.
No doubt. I mean that there are still. I mean, I've coached him since we drafted him, dating back to the summer and all our individual workouts, and there are still things that he does on a night-to-night basis where I'm just standing there and I'm like, wow. Like, because there are absolutely, like, one of the things that has always been intriguing about him is obviously his room to grow. He's super young, so his development curve has a lot of opportunity to continue to go up, right? But I think just his natural feel and instincts, whether it's driving the ball and passing, whether it's finishing at the rim, like there are just things that he does that you absolutely cannot teach. And that, I think that's where a lot of the intrigue comes from as well. And I've seen it firsthand for months now, and he continues to do it and surprise me. So it's, again, continuing to shore up some of those other areas. But like you said, early in the year, teams were going under on everything with him. And it was because, and he's athletic and skilled enough that he can still beat guys to the paint when they go under. So it didn't affect him as much as it does some other guys. But now with him shooting the ball so well, you have to chase a lot more of his pin downs. You have to go over a lot more on ball screens. And now you're giving a guy who's a natural scorer, a natural finisher at the rim, just a runway with a big in front of him, and it's lights out most nights. So he's been a blessing to coach. He's a pleasure to be around. He's awesome for our group. And I'm excited to continue to see his growth because, like I said, he's so young and he's got such a long future and bright future ahead of him. It's only going to continue to improve for him.
And then one of the areas for Amari to probably improve on going forward is the turnovers, which have been, he's had some high turnover games this year, trying to balance that. Is there any consistent theme you see in the nature of his turnovers? Is it handle? Is it decision making and transition? And I guess, what do you think he can do and the coaching staff can do to try and help him navigate that improvement in the future?
Yeah, so we show him all of his turnovers, and I think that's something that we're
sure
really
he loves
focused
that.
on. Oh yeah, well, we show him all of the unreal plays that he makes for his teammates too. So you see both sides of it, right? But no, the turnover piece for sure. We're trying to eliminate the silly ones. I think that's the biggest part, and he'll agree with, like, the ball swings to him on the wing and he steps out of bounds, or he over dribbles, in certain areas because he can get by guys anytime. So sometimes it's like, hey man, 2 dribbles and you should be by guys instead of 5, right? So sometimes that'll lead to a turnover. Every now and then we have like we had like an 8-second one the other night, just silly ones, right? So we're trying to eliminate a little bit of those, which brings his numbers down. The other ones, I think the ones that we really focus on are the decision-making ones. And a lot of times, like, he's here to grow and develop, right? We don't want him to turn the ball over 5 times a night. But if he's trying to make 3 or 4 really good pick and roll reads and they just don't work out, and he ends with 3 or 4 turnovers, those are the ones you live with as a coach and as a coaching staff, because he's trying to make the right reads, right? He's coming off the pick and roll with his left hand, the weak side pulls in, he sees the guy in the corner, maybe he throws it a half second late and they rotate and it's a turnover, right? But it's like, hey, those are the right reads. Like you're looking in the right places. You're starting to read where defenses are rotating to you at. Like those are the ones that you live with every single night. And those are the ones that we try to show him more times than not. The other ones are he makes the right reads in a lot of times. And, maybe it's Jeremiah Tillman or Nate Mensah on the roll. And instead of throwing the ball up towards the rim where they can just dunk it or lay it in, he's trying to make the pocket pass, So again, it's like you're making the right reads. You're reading the defense correctly. You're throwing it to the right guy, but maybe it's this pass instead of this pass. So that's where the turnovers are coming from in a lot of senses. And, again, we invite those because one of our jobs here is to put him in a ton of reps as a primary handler and a pick and roll guy. Seeing, he plays combo guard for us sometimes. He gets a ton of point guard reps for us, which are important. So you're going to live with those sometimes. And so it's just helping him understand, whether or not it's the correct read and then what the decision-making piece is from there with those. But again, those are areas that he's got to continue to improve in.
Yeah. And, I think the position thing is interesting. He has obviously played a lot of point guard this year, but has also played some two guard as well. He plays a bit of a combo, but it's still very early. He's still a teenager, or he was. I think he's still a teenager. He's close. So maybe too early to put any ceilings on exactly. Is he a shooting guard? Is he a point guard? As much as labels people like at this stage.